Let me start by saying I am not being entirely morbid. But my word for the day is the word death. And the reason why is when you go through things, as a people, as a so-called black people, as a Hebrew people who have lost their culture, we have not learned how to properly grieve and go through the process of death. And even more so, we don't even understand what death is. And so I think by getting our understanding together, we can properly go through the grieving process and also properly live. When you know what the end game is, it changes how you live. Okay? I'm going to do it like this because I have Malka's phone and I don't want it to sleep on me. We argue about a lot of things as humans, in our cultural circles and religious circles, but the one thing that is a constant that everyone knows is evident and we all agree on is that people die. Everybody agrees. It's so much so that linguistically, when I was looking this up, in the Hebrew word I read on here is the word moot, right? We actually say a moot or a mute point. It's like it's dead. It's no longer, it's not here, right? That word, I'll write up here, but I'm going to give you the languages. In Aramaic, right, it's the word moot. And Ugaritic is like a very, very ancient, early form of Semitic language, right? In Ugaritic, the word is mut. In Arabic, the word is mata. In Ethiopian language, the word is mata. In Akkadian, it's matu. In Egyptian, it's mut. Everyone agrees in all of the major linguistic branches on death and what death is. Okay. So, death is the word mut, spelled with a mem, a vav, and a tav. Okay? And the reason why we don't deal a lot in death is because, honestly, I think we're afraid of it. Because to understand something and to deal with it means that you're not responsible for the information and knowledge you have on that particular topic. Right? And it's part of the reason why nobody reads the book of the Revelation. Because of the level of death and destruction and not really understanding what that is or what that means. Okay? So this is it, and it would look like this. If I was to phonetically spell it, I'd probably put like this, M-O-O-T. Okay? Moot. Okay? In Paleo, it looks like this. And vav, tav. Numerically, mem is 40. That's right. 40, 10, 400. Right? All right? Is it mem 50 or 40? It's on there. It should be on your chart. I believe it's 40. So it's 40 and 50.
42,
Yeah.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm right. All right. So mem, we talked about this a little bit a few weeks ago. Mem is water, right? Chaos, right? But it's more specifically, the water is blood. Look at the word dam, it has a mem in it, right? It's blood, right? Vav is that thing that connects, or the and, or the dash in between this thing, the thing that connects it, right? Nail, pick, add, and tav is the mark, the sign, the covenant, the end game, the goal. The end game of the blood in our current state is death. We're all going to hit that point, period. There's no way around it. There's no way of getting out of it. Even the people, the two that we know that did not, will see death. because they are going to then die. They're the prophets of the Revelation. They're going to die. Elijah and Enoch. They will also taste death. Every person that has blood will die. Okay? Nobody's not getting out of it. And if you have the fortunate opportunity of being what they call seeing time end, there also has to be the changing from this corruptible body to an incorruptible body. So you will also die to this body. Okay? And everybody's like, why are you talking about me dying? It's good news. Okay. This word is different from the word to terminate permanently. There is a theology, and there are people that believe when you're dead, you're done. But the word for that is zadi memtav, and it means a permanent termination. Death is not permanent. The first death.
Correct.
For anyone. Okay? So what is death? Okay, so the picture means chaos and the covenant, or the chaos mark. Because of Genesis 2:17, you turn to it. Genesis chapter 2, verse 17, and it says, but of the tree, this is Yah speaking, 2:16, and Yahuwah Elohim commanded the man, saying, of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat, but of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil thou shalt not eat of it, for in the day that thou eatest, therefore thou shalt surely die. Genesis 2:17. That's the first mention of this word, die. But what we know is how the serpent played it was like, oh, you're not going to die. Because, see, the adversary knows the difference between the first death and the second death. He knows the difference between a spiritual death and a physical death, right? So what happens, the term is literally a length of time that comes to an end. That is what death is. There is a beginning and there is an end. In Hebrew, that doesn't look like this. It looks like this. It's when that which is deposited, that's 2 Corinthians 15, is then returned back to the person that gave it. That's the first death. Okay? So, those of you who know me know I like chess, right? So, in chess, when you're playing, and I'm greater at the strategy of chess than I am at playing chess. I don't want to challenge. I understand it intellectually. The whole goal of chess is to move toward a particular mark or a locked position for your opponent. Right? That's the point of the game. All of life is attached to an end point, which is that locked position between the person playing the game on this side of the board and the person playing the game on that side of the board. All right? What death is, essentially, is the end of the time of preparation for judgment. Death is the end of time for the preparation for judgment. Your life is to prepare for judgment. It's not to just live and do whatever you want to do and be however you want to be. From the time you take a breath, the Most High says, children, obey your mother and father. You immediately are given things to do because everything that you do is being recorded and it is preparation for when that which has been deposited into you has to return back. I was sharing with Malka and her husband Anthony the other day. Shaul. Get him. This idea of, we don't see it a lot in our culture because we've been disenfranchised. But what happens with a lot of European people, when they have children, they put a deposit on that child's life from the time they're born. It's called an inheritance. I'm saving up to give you something. But smart parents, I'm not talking about spoiled brats like Arizona, but smart parents give them just enough to keep them working. Right? They don't give them enough to make them do nothing and just walk around buying Maseratis and spending money. They give them enough to keep them working. And so what often happens is, it happens normally during the time of like marriage. And what they do is they give their child an inheritance or a deposit or a down payment on a house. But they don't pay for the house. They might even put the house in their own name. But what they do is, I've secured it in me, but you have to keep making the payments.
Right.
And as long as you make the payments, you'll have somewhere to live. And when it's paid off, it's yours. Life is that journey. The Most High says, here's your deposit. I've given you a house, a body. I've given you my breath. And I've given you literally a bank account with rules. And as you continue in this account, I'll keep depositing money into it so you can keep paying for your house. But you got to make the payments. And so when it's all said and done and you get to the end, he's going to say, now what did you do with the deposit? Did you pay off the house? Did the house go into foreclosure? Did I have to revoke it? Did I have to take over the payment? So the reason why I like chess is this. In a chess game, the person sitting on the other side of the table, when you sit down to a game and the game gets real tricky and you're playing, you're like, ooh, this person's good, right? In the game, a person can be so good that they'll give you a chance to like say uncle. It will.
Okay.
And it's seen in a dramatic effect in the movie Queen of Katwe, right? Have you seen the movie with the little girl in Africa who's playing chess?
Yeah.
And she's playing this girl, and she's in Russia, and she's playing, and she is whooping her. And she looks on the board, and she can see like 8 moves ahead, and she goes, oh, it's over. So she lays her king down, and she surrenders. Death for many, because see, death it's not the same all the way throughout Scripture. Some people sleep with their fathers. It said that they went on and they rested with their fathers. Some people have to die. And it's not murder. So the difference between somebody taking your life and you laying it down. Saul laid his life down. He was like, oh, they're coming. I'm going to fall upon my sword. Death. David, he got old. And they said, now you're going to sleep with your fathers. Right? There's a difference. When you've played the game and you realize that you are checkmated. It's checkmate. You can see ahead. The master will allow you the opportunity in his grace to tip your king. For many of us, that is difficult. So the game is only, this game of life and death, is only between you and your creator. We're so busy about who's standing around the chessboard watching. And the pride of some people, you get arrogant and you want to keep playing the game even though you know you already lost. Which is going to lead to death. If you tip your king, there is life. So, Yah judges, because the purpose of death is to meet the judge, right? You're living so that you can meet the judge, give an account. Yah judges on how sincere you play the game. So when you sit down, and if you're a master chess player, and you sit down with a 10-year-old kid, you already know you whooped him when you sat at the table. Right. The game is done when it started. When he moved his first pawn, the game was over. You're like, game, 2 moves, checkmate, right? But the love and the brilliance of a mastermind is, I'm gonna let you play a little bit. Because in playing with me, you're going to learn something. But the child can't be playing the game and think just because the person's letting them play that somehow they're going to beat them. When the game gets to that point, You tip your king. You shake his hand, and you get up from the table. Huh? With dignity.
Yes.
Because we've watched people fight death. I know we've all seen it. We've all watched people pass, and you're like, you're fighting it. How about you just tip your king and say, I give up? We were having this conversation about the thief on the cross. And the thief on the cross, right? He said it, this is how Maury said, he said, he got all of his salvation in one day.
In one day, yeah.
What did he do? He tipped his king. He was like, look, I'm up here, you up here, he up here. Where I got me was up here. You say you got something that I don't have. I can't get myself down from here. I am going to die. I'm going to taste death. I'm going to meet my judge. I don't want to meet him by myself. So, can I go into your father's house with you?
Yes, yes.
Because I'm not fit to go by myself. I'm going to tip my king, let you win, shake your hand, and we're going to hold hands and go in together. Is that okay?
That's right.
Was that not what that was?
That's right.
Is that not what that was? Okay, so let's read it. Because death is the first stage, the physical death, this moot, is the first stage of death. There's two deaths. There's not one, there's two. There's the death of the physical body, which ends the time which you have to prepare for judgment. And then there is the death after the master who sat at the table says, now let me tell you how you played. In a game of chess, what happens is a master chess player, or two decent chess players that understand the game, a teacher and a student, he will run back your game to you. He knows every move on the game because he thought about it before he played it.
Correct.
And so he goes, remember when you moved your rook to e4? And I moved my knight to f7. And then you moved your pawn to... And he goes and runs the game back, and you're sitting there, he's like, see, when you did this, you were supposed to do this. So that's why I did this. And when you did this, you were supposed to do this, and that's why I did this. And when you did this, and he pulls the pieces back and puts the whole game back together and deconstructs it, and you end up at the place where you are right now. That's how you ended right here. It is detrimental to you sitting down at the table with the master chess player to when he gets back and he runs your game down and you get back and it's a checkmate. You tried to play it all the way out. It's better that if he runs the game back and he said, see right here when you tipped your king? Now let me show you what I was going to do after that. And this is how you were going to be checkmate. I was going to run your board and tear up everything. But you tipped your king. So this is where the game ends. And now I can teach you and re-instruct you and fix it. I can cover that. I can't cover you playing it all the way out in your pride. And then there's nothing to fix.
Right there.
Yeah.
In your pride.
So let's start in Isaiah 66:24. Or let's say 23. It says, and it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saying, saith Yahuwah, all. And they shall go forth and look upon the carcasses of the men that have transgressed against me, for their worm shall not die, neither shall their fire be quenched, and they shall be an abhorring unto all flesh. You dead, but you're not dead.
That's hell.
So is hell literal or physical? If we're going to come before Yah and you're going to see those who,
It's gonna be physical.
there was a choice, right? Revelation 2:11 says, he that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the assemblies. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death. The second death seems to hurt more than the first one.
Right. For sure.
Revelation 20:6. It says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of Elohim and of Hamashiach, and shall reign with him 1,000 years.
Hallelujah.
So those in the first death get back up. I don't want to make a theological blunder, but it seems like everybody gonna have to stand before the judge. Is that not true?
Hebrews 9:27.
Nobody knows.
20 and 14, and it says, and death and Hades were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. And whosoever was not found written in
There
the
it
book of
is.
life was
That's
cast
what I'm
into the
talking
lake of fire.
Right.
The second death. Revelation 21 and 8. But the fearful and unbelieving and abominable and murderers and whoremongers and sorcerers and idolaters and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
Wow. All liars. Man.
Death sucks. Right? That is my profound statement. But the second death.
Really?
I'm gonna have to look at this a lot deeper, because as I'm reading, things are going through my mind and I don't want to say them now, but it seems as though the enduring to the end of the first death is somehow just the beginning.
Preparation.
Because the word for this literally means he kills. It does not mean murder, but it means that he takes the life. He gave it, so he takes it. And resurrection is the ability to then give that back which he has taken. How we walk and how we live, how we played our game, determines if he's going to give that back in the millennial and see if you're going to still do the same stuff he was doing. Because some people are going to get it back, and we hear in scripture that they're going to mess it up.
That's what it said. Lots of times. The release,
Yeah.
right?
Or not accepted.
That's what it said.
You in there.
He's going to give that back. He's going to look at the game and say, okay, I see how you played. You know what? Here you go. Are you going to play the game the same way when the Messiah rules with his iron rod? Or are you going to remember the first death and avoid the second one?
Mic drop.